I think we're going to be a little slow to gather this morning, as most of us have barely been home. Welcome to the Gloucester Unitarian Universalist Church. As you can see, I am not Pat Johnson. Pat is homesick with some bug or something that has laid her low. And Pat, if you're watching this morning, we send you our very best wishes for a rapid recovery. And I want to welcome all of you very warmly this morning, especially since it's so cold outside. And whether this is your first visit or whether you've been coming here forever, we're very, very happy to see you, as always. I am not seeing, if there's any visitors this morning, we invite you to get better acquainted with us and to get more connected by filling out one of the yellow pew cards that's located in the backs of the pews. And you're welcome to just drop that in the collection plate as it goes by. Also, I don't say this often enough, but I'm happy to get together with folks who want to have a cup of coffee or tea and either get connected or to get to know me better, ask questions about the church. I'm always really happy to do that. So see me after the service if you want to set some time up and let me know. So there are a number of announcements. And I just wanted to say that if you're not receiving the Friday email, please contact Christine in the church office so that you can get the full picture of what's going on. And Christine's address is info@gloucesteruu.org. Next Sunday we'll be serving lunch, and so plan on that, mark your calendars. And we're also going to hold a congregational conversation next week. And more about that in just a moment. But we also thought that it was important this week to update you all on what's been happening with the pledge drive for this year and our budgeting process. So Carl is going to say a few words. I think it's dead. Hang on a second here.
How's the volume? Pretty good? Okay, so I'm here in my role as treasurer, and I have a couple of very simple reports to make. With regard to the pledges that the members of the church made to support the church during the current year, we have received about $53,000 out of a total that was pledged of $93,000. So this is a message to all of us to check into whether you're able to make up the rest of your pledge within the next month or so that we could then start the budget for next year with this year taken care of. And then with regard to the status of the current pledge drive, I don't have the final results or the current results on that, but it's ongoing. The next person to speak is Holly, who I think might have some more information with regard to things that I don't know about yet.
I think that Carl and I had a miscommunication. The 53,000 number is what we have collected so far for this year's pledge drive for next year. I don't know the total that we have in hand for the current pledges. So I apologize for the miscommunication. Okay, but basically we're making progress, but there's more to be made, and we will report to you more accurately next week. Promise. I have some good news. Two things. One is our part in the Middle Street Walk yesterday went swimmingly. We sold out of Jim's chowder halfway through the lunch period. And that's at $8 a bowl, which was a fairly steep price. The chowder got rave reviews. We sold out of the vegetarian chili shortly thereafter. The events on the front steps and in here went well, and we sold scads of cookies. So I was pleasantly surprised because the Middle Street Walk doesn't tend to get big crowds, and we didn't have a big crowd, but they ate. The other good news is somewhat personal, but it affects you also. For some years now, I have been the biggest pledger to this church, which is a measure of how much the church means to me, not how rich I am. This year, I, for the first time, declined to usually the group that does the canvas pledges to make the increase that we're asking of the congregation. In this case, it was a 10% increase. And I declined because for the last 10 or 15 years I have done it, and it means I keep getting further and further and further ahead of everyone else. And I want people to catch up. So I did not make that pledge of an increase. But what I am going to do is to make a challenge to the congregation of that amount that my increase would have been as a matching grant. So whatever and this is not increasing your pledge, this is just an end of year gift. So you are not increasing your pledge for next year by doing this. But I will match what congregation members give up to $700. So between now and the end of the year, you write a check to the church and put on the subject line challenge gift, something like that. That will count, and I will match it. And now Kate has some words for you.
To lead into what Kate's going to say, prior to the pandemic, what I like to call the before times, we tried to, a few times a year, have a congregational conversation together, to meet during coffee hour and to have a topic that felt like something we really needed to kind of hash out together, and we would do that. And so we've decided to bring these back. Kate's going to speak about the topic a little bit, but I did want to mention that that I always invite newcomers and guests to join in, just so that they can see how we govern ourselves and how we talk to each other. It's an important way to look at the church. So so anybody will be welcome to attend, and it'll be next Sunday after the service downstairs in the vestry. So Kate, would you like to? Just hold it up. Okay. It's easier.
So do I have it in the right position? Can you hear me?
No, hold it a little bit below you. Okay.
Below me?
Yeah.
Down there?
Nope. No, you okay. No, yeah, but you're pointing the microphone at your.
Oh, okay.
How's that?
How's that?
Yeah.
Okay? Okay. I had hoped, I'm a board member, is what I am, not chair or anything like that, but I'm a board member very close to the end of my term. So that's the reason I'm up here speaking. And please just raise a hand if you don't hear me at any point. I had hoped for one of those Sunday mornings when a lot of people turn up, guests. We've had that happen in the last few weeks. But actually, you are the people I need to speak to. Regular people, at the church, all of you pledging, all of you doing jobs. You're the ones I need to speak to. The last 2 or 3 years have been very, very tough for people like us on the board. We've been isolated. We don't meet with other committees. We don't meet with other people. We do our work. We've done it by Zoom. We go home. Everything comes through email. And slowly, any connections we had with other people have really faded. Okay? There are committees that haven't met in 3 years, and therefore they can't support us because they're not doing their work. Finance committee just disappeared. Okay? Buildings and grounds, gone. If we can get Newt on the phone, that's about it. Okay? So it's been us alone. And we haven't minded, we've not complained, we've done the work. Okay? And the reason that we are here, you're here now listening to me, is because changes are taking place. With 3 of us off the board, and most importantly, perhaps it's Holly that's off the board. Her time as chair of the board is over. She can't extend it. She's off the board. Mary Lou Bassani, her co-chair, is off, and I am off, which leaves 3 or 4 people sort of hanging out there. We have had some people named to come onto the board, but they don't want to take the positions. They don't want to be chair or vice chair. They want to come on and learn to work with the existing people, but they don't want to take great responsibilities. Okay? So, where do we go from here? I might as well scrunch up my speech because I don't have to make it. You know, I could just talk to you. We need your help. We need for you to come to the conversation next week, having thought about it, having considered, maybe phone me during the week and ask me questions, email me. My information's in the directory. If you want to get hold of me during this week, do it please, because we need your help, your inspiration, your knowledge, and any other attribute that you want to come and share with us. Because quite frankly, we don't know what the alternative is. We really don't. People like myself and Holly and Mary Lou, we can't go back onto the board. We can give time to the board as members of the church, but we can't step back and do the work we've been doing, and particularly Holly, for the past 3 years, okay? So, next week, after the service, have some lunch, and please come to the meeting and bring your thoughts and your intentions with you. Okay? Thank you.
I'm just going to quickly add my appreciation to what Kate said, which is to say that it has certainly been a hard 3 years, but we've done about as well as any church could expect to, and as well as a church our size, particularly. And I'm grateful to everybody for working so hard, and we have a lot to be proud of, and a lot to build on. So looking forward to saying more and hearing more next week. And you know, turning back to the Middle Street Walk, I mean, that was just an incredible example yesterday of what this community can do. I mean, most of you were here for it and saw yourselves, but it was a beautiful day, and it feels like we and the city are back, you know, and it was wonderful to see so many of you and to be just kind of hanging out together, you know. And I took a walk and, you know, ran into Jeremy and Charles over at the Sargent House, and then I went down to the KPM Museum, and Paula Gray was down there. So we were out and about, and it felt fantastic. So thank you to everybody. If you noticed the decorations, we had our decorating crew in here on Friday, and the place looks beautiful. So when we were showing it off in tours yesterday, I was very proud of it. Carrie came in and hung her decorations, and then of course there was all the activity downstairs, the cooking and serving and cleaning and cookie selling, and it was remarkable. It was beautifully done. So thank you to everybody. We even made some money, but I didn't really care about that. Quickly, just wanted to, Christmas is 2 weeks from today, so there's a form in your order of service if you want to order a poinsettia, and the deadline is Tuesday, so I wanted to make sure you saw that. So slip it under Christine's door. So the lineup of Christmas services, we're kind of returning to our traditions this year, and so next Sunday will be our famous no rehearsal, all ages Christmas pageant. We haven't done this since 2019, so we're really happy to be doing this again. I could use 2 people to help out during the service to set up costumes and help people get into them fast. What we usually do is set them all up down in the back, and people come and just say they want to be a shepherd and get the costume. So please see me if you'd like to help. Our Christmas Eve service will be usual, Christmas Eve, 5 p.m. We're going to sing carols, and we are going to sing Silent Night inside this year. We did our best last year, but we're bringing it back to our traditions. And then Christmas Day is on a Sunday. And after a lot of hemming and hawing, I decided to host a Zoom coffee hour instead of having an in-person service. So maybe it's an eggnog hour, I'm not sure. But I'm going to host a Zoom session Christmas morning at our usual time at 10, and you can come on and wish each other Merry Christmas and wear festive attire if you wish. And it'll be nice to just at least see each other, wish each other Merry Christmas. So with that, finally, let us deepen our hearts and our spirits for worship. Without a worship associate this morning and multiple speakers, we've gotten a little bit out of order, so I think now we should have our introit now and then pick up the rest of the order.
Joyful
Whatever you have come in anticipating, whatever you expect or worry for our world, for our future, for our lives, let it go. Make space in your heart to be surprised. Make room in your soul for a new story to take shape. Let astonishment be possible at this life that remains a miracle. Imagine here the bursting of joy, relentless and resilient, coming in waves, washing over us with music and story, silence, and still this dreaming together, being hope for each other and courage to believe in this new day dawning for us all. Come, let us worship together. Our opening hymn this morning is number 225 in your gray hymnal, O come, Emmanuel. In our faith tradition, we begin our services with the kindling of our chalice. The flame of our chalice this morning is a symbol of the warmth and brightness of our connections and lights our way forward into our shared future as a community. And if you have a candle or a chalice prepared at home, please light it with us now. We take a moment now to affirm the covenant that we share with one another. The words are printed in your order of service. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift. You may be seated. Okay. As we've been doing for months now, we will take a moment to light our peace candle. And this morning, I want to lift up some thoughts for all of our Jewish friends and neighbors who are facing a rising tide of anti-Semitism. And this has been very apparent in the media, and there's this rather frightening undercurrent that I know is terrifying for people of the Jewish traditions. So let's hold them in our hearts. These are our friends and our neighbors, our temple down the street. And let's as we light the candle, let's just be with them in our hearts. And before Lucille sits down, 'tis the season when we light everything. We will be lighting our Advent candles. And Advent is a season of waiting, of expectation, and of longing. And this is the third Sunday of Advent. We will light one more candle on our Advent wreath, and this will be the pink candle that represents joy. And how it is, you might wonder, that we could celebrate joy when there's also so much suffering in the world. Isn't that contradictory? But it's an exercise of faith to address the unknown, or which could also be called the not yet known. Advent is a season of watchfulness. We listen and we keep vigil for the promise of things to come. And joy is one of those qualities that, if not yet present within us, it will come to us in its own time. This light of joy, then, doesn't require that you experience joy right now, today, in your immediate surroundings. Instead, this is a reminder to wait for it in faith, with faithfulness that overshadows pain and cynicism. And so may the lighting of this candle bring us patience, grant us faith, and draw us closer to joy. Thank you, Lucille. You may sit down now. Sure. Wherever you want. I like an audience.
For a moment, I hesitated on the threshold. For the space of a breath, I paused, unwilling to disturb her last ordinary moment, knowing that the next step would cleave her life, that this day would slice her story in two, dividing all the days before from all the ones to come. The artists would later depict the scene. Mary, dazzled by the archangel, her head bowed in humble assent, awed by the messenger who condescended to leave paradise to bestow such an honor upon a woman, and mortal. Yet I tell you, it was I who was dazzled. I who found myself agape when I came upon her, reading at the loom in the kitchen. I cannot now recall. Only that the woman before me, blessed and full of grace, long before I called her so, shimmered with how completely she inhabited herself, inhabited the space around her, inhabited the moment that hung between us. I wanted to save her from what I had been sent to say. Yet when the time came, when I had stammered the invitation, history would not record the sweat on my brow, the pounding of my heart, would not note that I said, "Do not be afraid," as much to myself as to her. It was she who saved me. Her first deliverance, her let it be, not just a declaration to the divine, but a word of solace, of soothing, of benediction for the angel in the doorway who would hesitate one last time, just for the space of a breath torn from his chest, before wrenching himself away from her radiant consent, her beautiful and awful yes.
I invite us now into a time of prayer to be followed by a time of silent meditation. I'm sharing with you this morning the words of the Reverend Linda Hart. Let us come into each other's presence and into the presence of the holy that lives between us. Let your burdens lift, put down your worries and all that troubles you. Set it aside, all of it, and allow yourself an unhurried, unclenched breath. Pause to open to the mysteries of life and love in the quiet of these moments. And in the quiet of our hearts, we pray, Spirit of all that is light and wondrous, penetrate our hearts on this wintry day. Illumine the threads of connection that join us to each other. Make bright the blessings that fill our lives. Into the quiet of this time, let us count them up. Love, undeserved but given without hesitation. The pleasure of warmth on a cold day. Smiles and laughter that come unbidden. The beauty of the world that surrounds us. The softness of the touch of a hand offered in compassion. Help us to abide in these many gifts of life this day and in the days to come. Gifts that brighten our lives, that remind us that the light still abides within us, between us, in all that is. Blessed be. Amen. We gather here in this sacred and beautiful space this morning, grateful to all of those who came before us, who made this church possible through their generosity and their commitment. We give to carry our church forward into the future and to support all of our work in the wider world. Our offering this morning will now be gratefully received. Blessings upon the givers and upon your gifts. Our second reading this morning is taken from the book titled Into the Mess and Other Jesus Stories by Debbie Thomas. In this passage, she wrote about the story of the Annunciation when the angel Gabriel appeared to Mary to tell her that she had been chosen to bear the Son of God. Ms. Thomas wrote, "The line I appreciate in the Annunciation story describes Mary's confusion, but she was much perplexed. It is not that the Annunciation leads her out of doubt and into faith. It is that her encounter with the angel leads her out of certainty and into holy bewilderment, out of familiar spiritual territory and into a lifetime of pondering, wondering, questioning, and wrestling. She was much perplexed. Or as she put it to the angel Gabriel, how can this be?" Ms. Thomas goes on, "Like Mary, I was raised with a fairly precise and comprehensive picture of who God is and how God operates in the world. If anyone had asked me to describe God when I was 15, 20 or 30 years old, I would have rattled off a list of divine attributes as readily as a kindergartner recites the alphabet. God is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. God is three, and God is one. God is holy, perfect, loving, righteous, merciful, just, and sovereign. What an interesting shock reality has been, she wrote. Who knew that my life with God would actually be one long goodbye? That to know God is to unknow God. To shed my neat conceptions of the divine like so many old snakeskins and emerge into the world bare, vulnerable, and new again and again. This, of course, is what Mary has to do in the aftermath of Gabriel's announcement. She has to consent to evolve, to wonder, to stretch. She has to learn that faith and doubt are not opposites, that beyond all the easy platitudes and pieties of religion, we serve a God who dwells in mystery. If we agree to embark on a journey with this God, we will face periods of bewilderment. But she concludes, this frightens us, so we compartmentalize our spiritual lives, trying to hold our relationships with God at a sanitized remove from our actual circumstances. We don't realize that such efforts leave us with a faith that's rigid, inflexible, and stale. Here ends our reading. It was she who saved me, her first deliverance, her let it be. Not just a declaration to the divine, but a word of solace, of soothing, of benediction for the angel in the doorway. It was she who saved me, said the angel. Our reading tells the story of the Annunciation, when the angel Gabriel appeared to a stunned young peasant woman in Galilee and told her that she had found favor with God and would bear a child who would be called the Son of the Most High. And Mary, according to the Bible passage in the Gospel of Luke, was perplexed. One can only imagine just how perplexed anyone would be in this situation. But Mary responded by saying, "Let it be with me according to your word." Last week, we explored how to define miracles. And this story, of course, is one of the great miracle stories in the Bible. But it is more than just that. The miraculousness of the story isn't what engages me, but rather the young woman's response to a call. "Let it be," she replied. What has come down to us through the centuries is a response based not in fear, but in faith. This lack of fear, this faith, was what the angel felt in her. During this time of year, we are invited to think more about faith. For one thing, the days have shortened, and the sun can seem elusive. Even on a clear day, we simply don't see enough light. And it's cold, and the earth here in the northern hemisphere appears dead. But think about the faith that we have, born of long experience, that assures us that the earth will continue to turn, that we will turn toward the sun again, toward warmth and light. We rely on that faith in these weeks when all the evidence around us points to the opposite, to death. The period of Advent, the 4 weeks leading up to the Christmas season, coincides for us with this fallow season. And it is a time when we are invited to think deeply about faith. As I've said before, this can be a somewhat confusing topic for anyone, but perhaps especially Unitarian Universalists. We as a people tend to like to deal in facts and in knowledge, and the word faith can make us uncomfortable. I always blame that on the unfortunate shorthand that exists, especially in the media, that uses the word faith when instead the writer means belief. They refer to people as members of the Jewish faith or the Catholic faith, when what they really mean is people who are adherents of a particular belief system. Religious beliefs tend to be firm and unquestioned, what a person believes to be the truth. The philosopher Alan Watts put it this way: the believer will open his mind to the truth on the condition that it fits with his preconceived ideas and wishes. Faith, on the other hand, is an unreserved opening of the mind to the truth, whatever it may turn out to be. Faith has no preconceptions. It is a plunge into the unknown. Belief clings, but faith lets go. In other words, let it be. The author of our second reading told of her own journey from the set beliefs that she held as a young person and how those beliefs fell away as she grew older. Debbie Thomas, the author, put it this way: who knew that my life with God would actually be one long goodbye, that to know God is to unknow God, to shed my neat conceptions of the divine, like so many old snakeskins, and emerge into the world bare, vulnerable, and new again and again. Let it be. People of faith, then, are not the people who live in a rigid place of certainty. As the saying goes, if you find that God pretty much agrees with all of your beliefs, then it's possible that you've created a God in your own image. Debbie Thomas would say that a journey of faith would lead us to see instead that God is a mystery, unknowable, unseen. The faith journey would include making room for doubts, for allowing ourselves to be perplexed, for realizing that we cannot understand everything. It is that doubting, the making room, that's in that place where we can grow and learn. And it is faith that allows us from time to time to say yes to a calling, even if we can't understand where the call comes from, or even if we cannot know what will happen when we begin to follow it. It is faith that gives us the space to set forth on a new journey, a new path, and to be willing to change. Perhaps it is faith in ourselves or faith in our own instincts. But much like hope, faith is always there if we're willing to search deeply enough for it, to examine our hearts and to follow its lead. To return again to the differences between faith and belief, we can think of faith as an active way of being, and belief as more passive. To live a faithful life implies a life of exploring important questions, seeking understanding, embracing the doubts that we all experience, or should. In contrast, by holding on to a set of beliefs, we become static and less engaged, more closed. Like hope, faith evolves. It rises to meet our wondering, our questioning, and that is why we think of faith as a journey, an ever-unfolding process that accompanies us. The author and poet Christian Wyman tells us that having faith in life means that our faith will undergo great change. He wrote, "It follows that if you believe at 50 what you believed at 15, then you have not lived, or have denied the reality of your life. What do we have faith in? I mentioned at the beginning our general faith in the cycles of life, of birth and death and rebirth, as we so readily always see in the natural world around us. But what else? Faith in science, perhaps, most likely. Faith in our public institutions, perhaps, although sadly that has been shaken for me. Faith in our human lives following a certain progression, unfolding in often predictable ways. I have faith in love, not necessarily in what we call eros, which is the love between two humans that can grow and shrink, but faith in the steadfast love that is that generative force of life, the energy that gives life to all things. And that is a faith that has evolved for me over time as my own understanding of the holy has grown and deepened. Again, not a traditional belief system, but a broadening understanding that there is something, a force in the universe that wants life to prevail. My name for this force is love. I have faith in it. Here now, as we embark on another winter season, let us embrace this journey that we are on, a journey toward truly open minds and hearts. It can be difficult. Think how much easier it is to lead a life of static belief, unquestioning, and certain. But this journey of faith is lifelong, often solitary, as we grapple with doubts, lose our way, and find it again. As we enter into the Christmas season, I remembered a poem I have often used in Christmas services that speaks to this winter journey. It's called "It's a Lonely Road to Bethlehem" by Francis Anderson. It is a lonely road to Bethlehem that must be walked slowly and untalked, where no bright light or angel song intrudes ahead of cue to wrongly claim the arrival of the dawn before the night is walked by each of us on through. This Advent, may you embrace this lifelong journey into a faithful life. Accept your doubts. Allow them to help your minds and your hearts to remain open, inquisitive, and receptive to where they may lead. It takes courage to stay on this journey. It requires us to keep saying yes to callings, as Mary showed us. Yes, let it be. Amen. I invite us now to say together the words to our unison prayer, which is printed in the order of service. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Our closing hymn is number 226 in your gray hymnal, "People Look East." responsive benediction is long, so why don't you sit down? And it can be found in your order of service on the back of the insert. And I invite you to read the italicized portions. Breathed into the world, whoever you are, wherever you go, may you know the stillness of winter and the call to love.
And let the dark of midnight plunge you into your truest self, and fling you back out again into a world in need of who you are.
May there be the familiar carols you know by heart and new melodies to set you free.
May there be feasting on bodies,
and may there be wise people to follow a star in the east and a child to teach us to love.
And our magic to let the imagination go wild, to let Christmas arrive with its enchantments, with its glitter, glow, and gold, to let what wants to be born break through.
May the presence of the holy crowd out fear, hate, and worry, and proclaim in this moment that peace and goodwill might yet be breathed into the world, and avow that we too can give birth to love wherever we go, whoever we are. Blessed be. Amen. And now for our postlude, we have a special treat, and you're invited to join in on the refrain, which is printed in the order of service. Let's extinguish the chalice first. Lucille. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of connection, and the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace and return in love. Amen.
My soul cries out with a joyful shout. My heart is great. My spirit sings of the wondrous things that you bring to the ones who wait. You fix your sight on your servant's plight, and my weakness you did not spurn. So from east to west shall my name be blessed, and the world be about to turn. My heart shall sing of the day you bring, let the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears till the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn. I am strong, my God, my all, your words great things in me, and your mercy will last from the depths of the past to the end of the age to be. Your very name puts the proud to shame, and to those who adore you shall show your might, put the strong to flight, for the world is about to turn. I shall sing of the day you bring, let the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn.